Welcome to your purpose, your pride, your power, a journey to authenticity. I'm Karen Hale, your host from NewClevelandRadio.net, proudly collaborating with Cleveland 13 News. And if you don't know who Cleveland 13 News is, well, just read about it in the show notes. This episode marks the beginning of a podcast series devoted to real conversations with individuals who are living their truth, guided by purpose, empowered by their inner strength through their stories. I hope you'll discover meaningful connections and recognize the common threads that unite us all. Today, I'm honored to welcome Denise Zarrella. Now, you may remember her from past as a news reporter at Cleveland 19 News. She now brings her storytelling talents to Cleveland 13 News, where she reports weekly. But reporting is just one facet of who she is. Denise is a wife, a mother, a devoted daughter, a loyal friend, and a dedicated realtor in the Cleveland area. In this conversation, Denise shares her powerful journey, especially what it means to navigate life as a parent of a child with special needs. Her story is a testament to resilience, grace, and authenticity. So I have to let everybody know that I met Denise at a special needs event. And I had known about Denise. I knew about her wonderful daughter, Gigi. And I saw this woman who just looked like she has everything going for her. But then I realized, as much as she has going for her, life sometimes can be a struggle. And I'm sure when you were thinking about getting married one day and having a family, our images weren't exactly the way they've turned out. However, I have to say how rewarding it is to be a parent of somebody with special needs. So welcome, Denise, and give us some background.
Karen, first I want to thank you for all the beautiful things that you just said about me. That was so nice of you.
Yeah. Well, they're true. So, when you have a real person in front of you, it's very easy to say nice things. And, you've been a role model for a lot of us, and maybe not even realizing what a role model you are. But, here I was bringing up a son who is on the autism spectrum, who, according to the public, didn't look autistic, whatever that means, didn't truly act autistic. And people wanted to know why I was doing so much with him and for him. And I can say the reason I did is so that he could become more independent as life went on. And now he is. But I saw you doing that with G. I saw you giving her all the opportunities. So tell us about G and what it's like being a special needs mom.
Yeah, well, I think, Karen, you probably agree with me. I think, us as mama bears, I don't really think that what I'm doing is that unique from what I see. If I just got done dropping G, we call her Gigi, we've got different nicknames for her, but I just got done dropping her off at Camp Imagine, which is this incredible, very special camp that goes on for 6 weeks every summer right here in Avon Lake. And kids that are on IEPs from all different school districts in our area come together for that special time to work on their IEPs, but also have some fun. And so I get to, as I'm dropping her off and picking her up, I get to look around and see the other kids, the other parents, and I see the same love and devotion and dedication and maybe some of the exhaustion also that I feel myself in all the parents that I look around and observe, because we're all standing there for a while waiting for the doors to open. And so, the journey that I think you and I have experienced, it's not that unusual. It's not that unlike what a typical parent experiences. It's just that it takes us so much more effort to get our kids. And I think the level of worry, I think parents worry a lot, right? That's normal. It's a normal part of being a parent. But I think that the level of worry you have for your child with special needs, it goes even deeper. And as a 53-year-old woman, as I get older, I think I've got a new, when she was little, there were, different we were worried, was she going to walk? Was she going to talk? All of these different things. And she needed a lot of extra help doing all those things that our son just automatically did. I mean, I realized when my son came along, I go, wow, this is why people have 5 kids, because I mean, I think he was at 3, he was telling us what to do, and Gigi just needed a whole lot more help. But those milestones were even more celebrated, and they continue to be more celebrated, because it takes her so much more time and effort to meet those milestones that other kiddos and other people just take for granted. And but as I was starting to say, is one of the new phases that we're in is that I think as I'm getting older, at 53, there's some things that start to happen. And I think my new worry is what happens to G beyond me, because she's had me all these years. And like you as a mom, while we're here on this earth, we're advocating for, we're able to, advocate for our kids, do everything for them. And we know them on a level that other people don't. We know how to read the signs of all kinds of different things. We know their nuances, unlike other people do. And my new worry is, what happens afterwards. So at each milestone, there's kind of like new things that come up. But one of the things that I do, I don't know if you did this through the years, but I think what helps me and encourages me and gets me excited a lot of times, I journal when she does something new or something really exciting that I didn't think would ever happen. And suddenly, like in the last year, she started to talk in sentences and say some really funny things. Like her latest thing is she puts honey on the end of every sentence. So I walked in the door the other day and she goes, "Hey, how are you, honey?" and I laughed. So I just like, every time she says that, it just cracks me up. She says, "Hey, how are you, honey? Hey, thank you, honey." But so it's an interesting journey that we're on, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of advocating, and let's just be real, there aren't the opportunities. We've come a long way. The opportunities and just the just the things that are available for Gigi are so different. That I've got friends, you and I are both very connected in the special needs community. So I have friends with kids that are a lot older than Gigi. Unfortunately, some who've had, their children pass away, but they've been able to, give me a lot of guidance and information and on the journey that's ahead, and what used to not exist for our kids,
right,
that now does. And I can see, wow, I don't know that there were camps like Camp. I'm thinking of one family in particular that I'm connected to with, and this really awesome man with special needs who's 70 now. I mean, I remember his mom telling me, there wasn't a Camp Imagine years ago for my friend Marty, and, he would get off the school bus and his sister would tell me that the other kids would, make fun of him and how traumatic that was. And luckily we've come, when you mentioned in your introduction also about judging people and how they look and how they act and all this. And so I think, we've come a long way, but then, of course we still see some things, thanks to Facebook and the social media that we're on and the things that we see sharing, and we go, wow, we still have a whole lot, we've got a longer way to go. But
how difficult is this for you to navigate? I know a number of mothers who are working many jobs like you do. Okay, you're not just doing one thing, you're doing numerous things, plus raising your kids and raising a neurotypical child as well. So you want to give him all that he deserves. You want to give it to G as well, but you also are out there working, and you have a husband who, if you don't give him some attention, he doesn't give you attention.
Your marriage will suffer. I mean, this is real stuff. Yeah. And this is real talk. And there's so much, as you mentioned, that's so wonderful about, I mean, we love all of our kids. And there's something, so amazing and wonderful about Gianna, but you're right. This is a lot to, to juggle and to make sure that you're trying to, to be something to everybody. And some days and in fact, most days I feel like I come up short, but I just tell myself, you know, I'm human. I can only, am I doing the best that I can? If the answer is yes, then I can feel good about that. And we all should feel as moms. And I think in general, this is something that a lot of women in general go through, because there's so much placed, so many demands placed on us that it can be hard to, and what about taking care of ourselves? Here's something I just recently started doing, Karen. I, over the years, as moms, how we put ourselves last. Well, I used to run. I used to, go to the gym. I always used to, getting some physical activity was always a part of my life. And then when the kids came along, it slid further and further behind. There was a time when, and one of the things that's a good tip, I think, for moms, that was something that was very good information for me when the kids were little, is that like places like the YMCA, we go to the YMCA in French Creek, and they have, for a couple of hours, they'll watch the kids up to a certain age, and you can go work out. That was a game changer for me, was finding these different places and Giant Eagle used to have the Eagle's Nest, where there was like, you could shop for a couple, an hour or so, and they would, the kids would have fun while you could maybe grab a cup of coffee and just, give yourself that break. Those little breaks are so important. But recently, so over the years, I just kind of, physically, any kind of physical activity for me, it just, by the end of the day, I went, that's just not happening. And so years have gone by. Recently, I got back on getting out there and committing to doing it, at least walking. Maybe, I used to run, but, they say you can get some of the same benefits from walking. And it's amazing how therapeutically walking affects you. So I've committed to, walking at least 2 miles a day. And that means, this weekend I said we were early risers, and I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to get this out of the way first thing in the morning. And you'd be amazed at like the stress relief that comes from that. And just knowing that you're doing something for yourself too. And so the caretakers, we have to remember to take care of ourselves too. And that plays into what you initially asked me, which was about, how do you juggle all of this, and how is it different? And let's, again, being honest, Gigi's about to turn 16. And I just recently got her completely potty trained. So, that's something that a lot of parents, you really couldn't imagine that, right? At the age of, that was a huge accomplishment for her. And but I still have to help her, in the bathroom sometimes. And, she eats on her own, but she eats like 10 times. She needs me to prepare her meals. She's trying to cook. Yeah. She recently just learned how to put her socks on. So, it's very hard, I think, for a lot of people that don't have kids with special needs to imagine, that level, giving your child that level of care for that many years. And at 53, sometimes I find myself really tired.
Oh, whether you're 53 or 23, you're still going to be tired. It's because it's not just the physical energy, but it's the mental energy. I know at one point we were told that my son wasn't going to even graduate high school. He just doesn't have it. And he was acing his classes and was like, how can you tell me?
Well, your son's amazing.
Yeah. And he sat there and he said to this person, you're absolutely wrong. I'm going to make something of myself. But in the back of my head, I had to take what this doctor had told us and say, there is this possibility. So how do I deal with that? And how do I keep him from being disappointed? And so for me, that took a lot of internal energy because I didn't want to believe it, but yet it was a possibility. And so it was like, okay, I've got to ramp up my game. And that's what I think so many special needs, especially moms, do, because we're sort of inbred. It's our responsibility to take care of our children. Now, you you walked away from a career in the news. You devoted yourself to real estate. Now you're sort of doing a combination of things, and yet you're still raising a daughter who is learning, but learning at a slower pace. And so you're still needed. It's not like you can just take off for a couple of weeks and say, bye, mom needs
Not even for a weekend,
Yeah.
because we've had people that have said, hey, recently, Tony is now working in a law firm as a law clerk well, actually now he's studying full time for the bar coming up in July. But this really nice woman who just started working at the law firm that he's been clerking at, she said, I have these free airplane tickets that need to be used by a certain date. And she must have overheard him talking about, he might have said, oh, Denise never gets a break or she never gets away. And this really nice woman, she said, I'd really like to give these tickets to Denise. Please, let her use these plane tickets. We're not going to use them. And look, I'm not telling this story to I really, my happy place is at home with my kids. It really is. I mean that sincerely. But even if I wanted to, I said, Tony, I can't. Right now we are not in a place where I could even leave for a weekend. That takes another level because you mentioned I did leave television. I miss being a reporter. I dream about it still. I miss it that much, but my kids were getting closer to the people that were helping us than me. And I was missing out on so much. And so it was the biggest blessing, when the boss said, no, we're not going to let you go back to part-time. It's full-time or nothing. And so I said, well, I'm going to have to leave. And it was really one of the best things I could have ever done. That was 2019. I would have missed out on so much. In that period of time, I look back and I go, we've done so much together. And I was able to be there for my kids in a way that I couldn't have been there because I was away. You're never home. You don't know when you're going to be home. And that is such a, it's very demanding, and a lot of people say, I remember, Karen, you probably remember people saying, to us women, you can have it all. You can have it all. You really can't. There's only so many hours in the day and you have to make choices, difficult choices. So I'm glad that I did leave, and Gianna's been doing so much better since then because she has consistency and all of that. And my son, is definitely, doing, I was able to be he could do things that he wouldn't have been able to do because I just wouldn't have been home to drive him, and they say your kids need you more as they get older. And it's totally true. I really think it is, because when they're little, they're not having all these activities and they don't have to be bed in time, be up for school and all this kind of thing. So, but yeah, I really miss being a reporter, but being a realtor allows me this flexibility. And I think that, for women and women, who who are in careers, if you can be part-time, I think that's ideal because it is still important to feed your soul and to do what you feel passionate about. But luckily, I'm still connected to people like you. And when we do things like this, I feel like, wow, like God's really used me, he's giving me this beautiful daughter and this son. And, maybe there's something that you and I can share that somebody watching this might, even if it's a tiny little tidbit, maybe it can help them in the way that other parents that came before me, it helped them. And we're still, now the podcasting has become so popular. It's interesting how much things have changed. Things are so different even from 2019 when I left reporting at a conventional TV station.
So you are reporting though for Cleveland 13 News. So tell us.
I do a weekly. It's called the Click Report, and we're actually going to be shifting the focus to really making sure that we're sharing that. Matt had spoken to me about doing something that would kind of get some people to take another look at some of the stories they had done during the week. And so recently we talked about, I'd really like to promote the stories that are uplifting, that, you know, I mean, when you're doing it, when you're working in a news operation, obviously there are stories that are, you know, that's what I could just, that's part of what was very difficult for me to do anymore was I was really doing so many tragic stories on a daily basis. So in the Click Report, we're moving forward. We're going to try to share things, news you can use, news that's uplifting, that makes people smile, that I can smile while I'm sharing it. It's kind of like an overview, a recap of the week, and to get people clicking again on the stories that you know, that were important in the community and that got people initially interested, and to just remind them of it. So that's what I do there. And yeah, I have a lot of different interests, and I'm still a newsie, so I'm still following the news on a daily basis, but on a much more, you know, obviously I'm not spending, I'm putting yacht rock on after I check in with all
Yeah.
the daily news, because, you know, for our mental health, you know, sometimes you really need to step away. I think we're being so bombarded now by so much information, and it can really, really affect your mental health.
Well, and it's difficult today to find out what information is really true, what is not true.
Right. You
I,
have to really be careful about sources, and
exactly.
now with AI, they can actually, you know, make people say things that they didn't say. So I mean, these are really interesting times that we're living in.
Well, I'm excited that we got to do this today because, again, as you know, if you had heard your words from somebody else when you first had G, it would have been helpful. You would have known, hey, number one, I'm not alone. Number two, you know, this is who I'm going to be. And that's okay because this is who I want to be. I know when I got my son's diagnosis at 6.5 years old. So, as I typically say, he went to school one day as neurotypical. Somebody at school noticed some behaviors. We got sent to a doctor. We got a diagnosis. He comes back to school and now he's autistic. It's like that was hard to wrap my head around. And many of the parents in that special needs community did not see him as being on the spectrum. And so there was a lot of confusion for a long time in our life. But the mothers that I heard from who were raising their kids, they're the ones who gave me the hope that all I could do is be there for him, support him. But I had to start learning how to take care of myself. Sadly, I didn't do that until he moved away from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I went almost 29 years and kept saying, I have no time.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, I'm taking extra time because I didn't take it previously.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important. We got to find somebody who can step in for us 5 minutes, 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make a difference. And I'm sure you have some of that support.
We do. We don't have as, and I apologize because I'm kind of all over the place, but as you talk, I've got so much, and I don't want to interrupt you. I don't know if you know this, but Gianna also is on the spectrum. So she has a dual diagnosis, and something similar happened to me that happened to you when she was diagnosed at about 6 years old. Also, there were some things that we were noticing that we were like, why? We don't understand. There were some behaviors. And then that's when she was diagnosed with autism as well. But what's happened since I shifted back when I was working full time, especially when the kids were little, we probably had three different, we had some very wonderful people that were helping us for a lot of years. And then people retired or moved away, you know, or just did some other, I mean, life change, even in a 10-year block, you know, people's lives are constantly changing. So we lost the people that we could really, you know, had become a part of our family and that we relied on and sat. And then we used to have family members, like my grandmother would come and spend time with us. Tony's dad would come and spend time with us, and we've lost them, you know. So, I mean, that's another thing you start going through at like where Tony and I are at. We're losing a lot of people that have been our support system over the years, and which makes you feel, you know, alone. But luckily, and I say luckily, but I don't ever think a lot of a meeting when we meet people. I don't always think that it's just like luck or an accident. I think we've had some new people that have come into our lives that are never a replacement for the people before, but we've been blessed over the years to meet, you know, and I would encourage people to be open to other people, welcoming other people that would come in, to support you and to, form new friendships and to, yes, give you those breaks when you need them. We have a couple of women who are wonderful who do provide respite services for me. She is on a waiver. So I can't even there aren't words for what that 3 hour block does for me on some of the, when she doesn't have school, it's just that a quick 3 hour block, but it gives me enough time to maybe, to do, check off some boxes, I'm a list. I make lists every day. So, so it gives me some time to go down my list and do some things that I needed to take care of. And to just, like you mentioned, some self-care, even if I'm a big coffee drinker, sometimes I love to get a cup of coffee and just, and drive in my car and put the windows down and blast my music, and that's the kind of stuff where as one of my friends says, where you're filling up your cup again. You've got to fill up that bucket again so that you have so that you're in the right frame of mind to take care of your kids. So over the years, because I'm not full time anymore, I don't have full time. I would probably have more people in place to help me. But when I left TV, I really, I've been able to mainly take care of the kids on my own, but that's also created a situation where we don't have, regular help, but we do have a couple respite people that do respite. So that's why I couldn't, like I mentioned before, I couldn't take off for the weekend, but yeah, you hit on something very important. You've got to take that. If someone can give you even a half hour of a break, you have to take those breaks. Because if you don't, then you're just not as patient, or you might overreact to something. We all want to be the best moms that we can be.
So you brought up something in the beginning, and I want to close with it. You talk about the future. That you're in your 50s at this point, and what's going to happen to G as you get older, either can't take care of her or you're no longer here. And that's been one of my big concerns with my son. Even though he's extremely independent, I have become his daily coach. So he lives out of state, and every day he will call me, and I'm there to just give him that bit of energy. But I said to him the other day, what happens when you call and I don't answer in the future? And so we're working on that now. How do you see the future?
Oh, that's a big question, Karen. I don't know at this point. We're kind of Gianna's entering her sophomore year in high school. These are conversations that we do have because we have to, like other special needs parents, we're going to have to put into place something legally,
Right.
and we haven't done that yet. And we've kind of when we need to, and I think a lot of people shelve these things because it's hard to imagine that period of time. But there aren't easy answers. If it was an easy answer, then we would have put that trust into place by now. That's something. Now that Tony's taking the bar exam, hopefully we'll have some free legal advice and he can put that together for us, because it can be expensive also,
Right.
going and getting it's something that has to be done, but it's not cheap. You do need some legal guidance in it. But I'm hoping, moving forward, I'm already thinking, I don't know if, I know at the high school she goes to, they'll be preparing her for job train. In fact, they're doing it right now at Camp Imagine. They've been going to the Winking Lizard and trying to learn jobs. But at the very least, I just want Gianna to be happy and healthy. And I know you feel the same way for your son, and to live the best life that she can. So if that means, after graduation, she may go to a day program, but I'm just praying that we live as long and healthy and happy together as we possibly can. And then beyond that, life changes so much that even if, some scenarios that we were thinking about 10 years ago are different now because people have gotten older.
Exactly.
And some people that we might have been considering as, people that we would have in place to help, their lives have changed and they're getting older. So I think like what that looks like, even if we wrote something down today, you constantly have to, be reevaluating and reassessing these things. So, I'm just right now, I'm just taking it day by day. And like, I guess like everybody else, just hoping for the best. And I pray really hard. I can tell you that, but I know that, God gave G to me for a reason, and that like everybody else, he has a plan for her. He has a plan for my son. He had a plan for you. He had a plan for me. And by the way, I don't want to let us say goodbye before I tell you that you are one of my role models. And I want you to know that because you have so much energy and you're so brave so we're connected in social media, and you share you're very open and very honest, and not everybody is that, and that's okay. I mean, not everybody shares but what people don't realize is that, and it's great to share all the victories and the pictures of the perfect families and all of that. But what people also need to sometimes hear about are, some of the challenges, and because those are the things that make us go, oh, okay, well, I'm okay then. I'm not alone. We all need to know that we're in this life together and that we're not alone and that we're there for each other. And that's part of what I think you might have seen online. I started it's actually a continuation of a group that existed before, but I've started a social hour here in Avon Lake that's open to anybody that wants to join us. The Avon Lake United Church of Christ reopened their doors to us. This is a group. We used to have special needs dance class together. And again, when talking about, like one of the biggest things that we could do, Karen, is lean on each other. And for years, my daughter was like the youngest one in this dance class. And I think sometimes I got more out of that dance class than she did, because while she was learning these moves, I was sitting there and talking to the other parents who were, sometimes we didn't, it wasn't always a deep conversation. Sometimes it was just something funny that we were sharing. But a lot of times they gave me some really good advice. Because while we were watching the dance class, we would just talk about what was going on in our lives, what's going on that week. And they would, tell us, give me some feedback, or not just to me, but other people. And so we got the group back together. And in addition, are opening this up for anybody else who wants to join us from 6 to 7 o'clock, the second Tuesday of every month. At the Avon Lake United Church of Christ. And it's very simple. It's a social hour. Sometimes there'll be a theme, but at the very heart of it, it's a boombox, balloons, and a birthday cake, because we're going to celebrate birthdays. And what we saw at the first one made me realize like how much this is needed, that we just need opportunities. Activities are great, and these big events for people with special needs are wonderful. But what I think we all need more of are just simple opportunities to get together and talk.
Exactly.
I mean, we had an ice cream social, and people just want to sit down, have an ice cream, and talk. And I looked around we had this huge group of people that showed up. And by the end of it, I saw people breaking off into small groups, people saying, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. And there was actually one woman that I saw at the very end. She must have really been talking about something, had found somebody to maybe share something with that might have been on her heart, that was bothered. There was a woman that was actually crying, but confiding in, I think there was some other parents that were, I'm not sure what that was all about. But the point is that, we need more of these opportunities to just be there for each other. And that's how I see you. And that's why you're my role model, because look at even what you're doing here, devoting and dedicating and offering up your time for free to help other people, and your experiences and what it means, to be a special needs parent. And also, I'm sure you'll be offering up probably other topics too that could help people, because you have an enormous heart, Karen.
Thank you.
And a passion and a drive and a talent for hosting this kind of thing. So I'm so glad that you're doing this show, and And I hope you'll have me on again.
Oh, I will have you on again. In fact, at some point, I think we have to have Tony on again because I mean,
Oh yeah,
people are all wondering what happened to Tony Zarrella. I mean, we all know he went to law school, but
he's still
we all
out there.
miss him.
He's hunkering down in a library, and I'm bringing him lunch and feeding him because he absolutely has to pass this test. So, but no, he still did. He was on. It actually he did some sports shows last season also that were on Bally's. I mean, like we talked about, the technology is kind of changing,
Right.
and some opportunities online are like shifting from the traditional television set to a lot of like YouTube shows and all of that. So it's interesting to see this shift as somebody who started the business, and it was so different, back in 1994 when I graduated college, I was getting into television. Now there's all these other, look at what you're doing, and podcasts and all kinds of things that people are doing on social media. But anyway, thanks for having me on, Karen, and
Thank you.
for what you do for all of us to inspire us and to share, the happy things that are going on, and sometimes, things that have have you, maybe feeling a little down, and you go, wow, okay, well, she's normal like the rest of it.
That's right.
Wow, so
Exactly.
Karen's having a down day. Well, okay, well, then I guess I don't have to feel so bad about myself.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, and give everybody at home hugs for us.
I
Uh,
will,
and,
Karen.
and let Tony know that Alex has been thinking of him.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Because they connected.
That's right.
Wasn't he
Yeah.
on Tony's show when he was on Channel 19?
Yes, he was. Yep.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So nice connections. I love it.
I'll remind him of that and tell him that you said hi.
All
And that,
right.
I mean, your son is just doing phenomenal. If Gianna could do a portion of what your son's doing, this mama will be so happy.
Well, she's improving every single
She
day.
is. And
that's
she's on her own journey, Karen, just like
Yes.
the rest of us.
That's right. I love it. Have a great day, Denise. Thank you.
You too. Thank you, Karen.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.